She must have been like 7 or 8. And we were down on one of our long summer trips. So we were down there for like 10 days or something. And she wanted a stitch. Actually, she wanted that exact stitch that's behind you, the stitch plunge. But the only ones we could find in the shops were like the huge stitch. And I was like, we are not paying like $70 for a stuffed animal that you're going to not, one thing, like how are we going to get this thing home? It's gigantic. I'm not paying $70 for a plush. So I wanted that like medium size one, that's reasonable and the decent size put in your bedroom. I looked in all the stores, Mouse Gear, the Emporium, every shop, every place we went. Finally, somebody told me they have them at the boardwalk. And I remember we were like in the very front of Future World. I walked all the way back to the boardwalk and it was like July. It was so hot. Got it home and I don't think she like ever played with it. I'm just like, I told you, I walked like 20 miles for that. I looked at every store and finally I was like, there's one. And I bought it and she never played with it. You know how it is being a parent. That's how it is.
Oh yeah. You paid for the story.
Oh my gosh.
I paid. That was yeah. But you kind of make a note how much that story cost you.
Well, and I think too, but here's the thing. I think I probably stopped by Ample Hills and got an ice cream on the way or there or back. So it probably all worked out. I just remember it was so hot that day. I was like, you Mallory, because I'll probably die of heat stroke trying to get this stitch. Yeah, she's probably sold it at a garage sale. I don't know where it is because we moved. So who knows? I don't think it's in the storage room where all the other ones are.
Yeah. These are stories you got to bank. You got to bank these stories for, grandparent days too.
Yes. Oh, dude, too many. When you got 2 daughters, man. Oof.
Yeah, I have 4 kids, so
yeah,
it's They're good. Chances are good. I'll be able to share similar stories.
Yeah, that'll work. All right, here we go. Let's get started. Let me hit that. And turn off Twitter because I don't want to see about the Cardinals losing for the next 20 minutes. Okay, here we go. Hey, Margie. Happy Wednesday. Here we go. Welcome to episode 1890 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a wonderful weekend with friends and family. And let's get this week started the right way with a trip report. Now, don't forget, if I'm a little bit more chipper on this Monday, it's because this isn't a 5-day work week for me, right? I'm getting on a plane on Thursday to head down to Walt Disney World. Now, I was just talking with our guest today just a second ago. This is a business trip, at least for the first 50%, but we'll get into that. Of course, we're going down for the Summit Cheerleading Championships. We'll be staying at the Hilton Disney Springs, but I'll be over at Disney Springs a lot. And then we're switching over to Coronado Springs at the end of the trip. But I'll be putting all this stuff on Instagram and Twitter. So please do follow me at BeOurGuestMike. Get ready because it's a Twitter and Instagram fest once I get moving to St. Louis Lambert International Airport. It starts. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to share it all with you. But today, how about a trip report? We're going to talk about a fun trip to Walt Disney World just a couple months back. Scott is joining us in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I think I got it right. Scott, what's going on?
Very good. Absolutely. Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me. This is so exciting to be on the show.
See, Brewers fans and Cardinals fans can podcast together. It can work.
Absolutely. We're all part of the great Midwest.
That's right. The Cubs fans, I mean, I've learned to like Wade. Wade's a good buddy for Sunday nights. Man, he's in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I have like lots of reasons not to like Wade because Mizzou and Nebraska were bitter rivals for years. And then he always talks about the Cubs. Like Wade is one heck of a guy because I like him in spite of his Husker/Cubs fandom. And I think that's what it's all about, though. We're all Disney fans, right? We can find some commonality there.
Absolutely. You got to start there.
All right. Well, let's, before we hop into your trip, which I think is fun because you took a couple of your kids down and you did a Walt Disney World and Universal split, which a lot of people are kind of curious about that nowadays. Before we hop into the trip, give us some background on your Disney fandom. Like, what has you listening to a Disney podcast? What's your background? Stuff like that.
Sure. No, boy, I could probably create my own podcast and talk about the fandom and the history and everything like that. But real quickly, I was kind of thinking about this question and listening to other shows, and I kind of stretched back into the 70s, and I remember kind of one of the first movies I ever saw that I recall was Bambi. And boy, that had everything. It still does. I mean, the songs, the colors, the characters, death. It had the full range of every kind of, anyway. I mean, it had the full Disney story and Disney effect, and it really had a strong impression on me. And I don't know, is it right? Can we call seeing the original Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, in the theaters, does that count as kind of a Disney thing now? I mean, it's been co-opted, but back then, obviously, it wasn't a Disney thing. But
See, I have thoughts there because one, I've never seen Bambi. Because the thing is, I've never seen Old Yeller. I don't need to go see a movie about like animals dying. I'm just not putting myself through that. I don't like sad stuff. But I know it's a classic. I've seen,
sure.
like parts of it.
Well, I'm sorry then, Mike. Spoiler alert. Sorry, I should have said that.
I'll throw that. I'll put a big spoiler alert on this.
Sorry. I guess at this point, I assume everybody who listens to the podcast has seen or know the story of Bambi. But so Star Wars was a thing. I remember too, and we still have them somewhere in one of the kids' rooms. My mother signed us up for the Disney Book Club. I don't know if anybody else had that in the 70s. Like you got once a month.
Yes, I think I might have been a part of that at some point too, because we had those, or my mom might have gotten them at like garage sales because she
went that too.
Times. Yeah.
Sure. So that's where that all started. And I remember too, in the 80s, kind of early mid 80s. I'm not much older than you, Mike, so about the same age. But anyway, so my dad had a lot of business trips, and many of them would go to Florida or Southern California. So I was blessed to be able to go just once, but once to Disneyland, once to Hollywood Studios, the original one, Southern California. And we went a couple times to Disney World, especially after Epcot Center came online. Nice. That was a big thing. My dad has always, and still to this day, believes in educational vacations. We'd take road trips and we'd visit historical monuments and things like that. And I really appreciate that. It doesn't always hit you as a young kid, going to Gettysburg. You're like, what does this mean? This doesn't mean anything to me, but it sticks with you. And that was one of them. When just going to Epcot, that was like, I think my dad's excuse to go to Disney World. It's like, oh, there's educational. There's something educational now.
But the thing is, we take this off on a full tangent here, but I will say, with that philosophy, because again, I was a school teacher for 17 years. And the thing that I've learned probably more about being a parent too, and being an educator, is that when you take your kids to places like Gettysburg, or when you take your kids to say Epcot and you go on living with the land, something like that, or back in the day, Universe of Energy, there's not as much educational stuff. World Showcase is a good example, right? The thing is, when you're a kid, maybe you're 7, you don't have any context for that, but you have kind of a secondhand experience. But then at some point, maybe when you're in high school and they bring up the topic of hydroponics, you've actually seen what hydroponics looks like outside of like a page in a textbook or on a website. Or, you talk about Japan, of course, the Japan pavilion isn't going to Japan, but you get a little taste of what the culture may be like. And I think that it just, especially places like Gettysburg though, right? When you learn about the history of the United States, if you've stood on that battlefield, you have context. And I think that's what Disney can give kids. Maybe not initially, but later, 5, 6, 10 years down the road, when they get to that topic, they have context a little bit, at least.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And that's, and we continued that, with my kids, using that as an excuse to be educational, to take them out of school, to go on these trips. So yeah, that started, so 4 kids, and, we've indoctrinated them into the Disney way. And that started back in 2008. And kind of the tie back to today is that was my son's first trip. He's number 3 of 4 in the family. He has 3 sisters. God bless him, but the other way around. It works the other way around though too. He gets to be the annoying big brother and the annoying little brother. So it does go both ways. But anyway, so he was 2. He was barely 2 when we took him down his first time. He's 14 and a half, and he's as tall as me.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how, this is our fifth trip with as a family. And again, it wasn't the whole family, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But yeah, it was just interesting to see pictures of him and video of him 2008 as a 2-year-old, and now I'm taking him and he's as tall as me and he's doing all the crazy intense rides that I'm not even gonna get on. So
Right. Right. I totally get it. It is crazy because we took Mallory at 6 months, and she's 13
right.
now. Just
Yeah.
but the thing is she's grown up with it. So she doesn't understand how special it is, I don't think, sometimes to go there, which I try to give her perspective because not everybody in St. Louis gets to go. We're very blessed. And it is kind of, we talk about that a lot, but she's just like, oh yeah, we go, it's summer. We go to Disney. So anyway, I want to ask you one thing though, because I want to start asking guests this as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World in October. If you could bring back one thing from the past 50 years, Walt Disney World, parade, a promotion, some kind of an attraction, a restaurant, is there one thing you would bring back if you could just boom, 50th October 1st, I get this back?
Okay, this is good. The first thing that came to mind, and this is maybe going to sound weird and obscure, but the Winnie the Pooh playground
Really?
in Fantasyland. And again, it's I mean, everybody's going to have a different answer because how does it impact you personally and as a family and such. And we have video, and that was the first time we were there, and just seeing my 3 oldest at the time. Our 4th wasn't even with us. She was still 2 years out before she arrived on the scene. But just seeing the 3 of them, they could have spent 4 hours there. I mean, yeah.
I mean, you even, we'll talk about this again when we get into your trip report, but I mean, it is the small stuff so many times that where the memories are made.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you lay out these plans for weeks and months before you go down, and it's like, yeah, the top 3 moments, I never crossed my mind until they happened.
Right. Yeah. Winnie the Pooh playground. Who knew? But we were there, and it was at night, and it was in the middle of winter, and it was really warm out. It was just lovely and in every way. And then the fireworks started happening. We were in the back of the castle, and fireworks, and we had popcorn. I mean, in a like little capsule there, that was probably like cost $5, that whole thing there.
Right.
But
right.
as in terms of part of your trip, but as just the memories, and as the kids too, they all remember that too. They remember playing hide and seek, and again, they remember it too because they saw the video and they watched mom and dad watching the video and getting a tear. So.
Yeah. 100%, because everybody is just being free and having a good time, and that's and after all this stuff we're going to talk about today, park touring, hotels, restaurants, it just comes down to being together as a family with with friends. I mean, I've just gone with friends too, and it's the same thing. So okay, let's hop into the trips. We have plenty of time because we got lots to talk about. You're down late February, split stay. So where'd you stay at World, and give us some memories, some highlights of that stay?
Sure. We stayed at Caribbean Beach Resort, or Caribbean Beach Resort, depending on where you're from, I guess, but and how you want to pronounce that. But again, thank you, Mike, for being I'm going to say manager, coach, sports teams here.
That makes it sound more important. Whitey Herzog of travel.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. To make all this happen, because again, with the current school schedules, we just weren't quite sure what was going to happen. So we scheduled way back last July. And that's a thing too, kind of our family system, if you want to call it that, is we go every 3 years. We kind of, that gives us a chance to kind of reset, save up,
right,
plan ahead. And also the kids are 4 of them are all 3 years apart in age. So it's a kind of a nice little reset too. It's like, I don't know. It made it simpler for the parents to do that, but
you guys just threes. It works out well.
it kind of does. But again, so like my son was his sister's age when we went last time, 5th grade. So now he's 8th grade, like his next oldest sister was. Anyway, not to get all the math of that, but again, for us too, this was a good timing, that kind of a pre-graduation kind of celebration for both the 2 youngest. So my son moving on to high school later this fall, my youngest, the last one, leaving elementary school, 14 years of elementary school nonstop of somebody in elementary school, and she's the last one. And again, so it's kind of a little mini celebration of that. And that's kind of why we again, that's why we picked when we did, because it's also the midwinter break. So planning ahead, we were thinking, okay, end of February, they get like a 5-day weekend. Well, that was before this thing called COVID.
Right.
So
Nothing mattered once 2020. Yes.
yeah, so here we are last July, obviously in the thick of things and not sure what's happening with our school schedules. So we just went, well, like you always recommend, book it. Just book it, book the
Yeah.
package, and you've got it on the books. It's the $200 refundable deposit. So we just did it. August, the school schedule came out. They decided they're going to do a hybrid kind of virtual in-person school year. And thankfully they were able to put my kids here. Our oldest is off in college. Our next oldest high school. My son's in middle school. Our youngest is elementary school. So we have one in every level.
That's
challenging. And so thankfully, props to the Eau Claire Area School District. They were able to put all the 3 kids here at home here in Eau Claire into the same cohort, as they called it.
Wow.
All that to set up the fact that they had in-person school Thursday, Friday. They still do. They're starting to transition back to 4 days a week. And then Monday, Tuesday was their virtual days. Wednesday was kind of the off day, I guess.
Probably the asynchronous day, which is
asynchronous. Thank you. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I still don't know what that means. So
you know what it means. It means you do your homework because the teachers are doing their thing, and you're going to do yourself on your own. That's exactly what.
It means Wednesday, and they all sleep in. Is what it means.
Homework.
So anyway, so we were able to adjust that. So again, thank you, because we were, as things progressed, through the fall towards the Christmas break time frame. We were able to then make some adjustments. We added a day on there because we found out, Wednesday's the asynchronous day. So we're going to go Wednesday to Tuesday. Their break was going to be like a Thursday, Friday, Monday kind of thing. They'd miss like 1 or 2 days of school. Well, we were able to add a day because the Wednesday off day or asynchronous day, now we were kind of our bookends. Thursday, Friday were the only 2 days they're going to miss in person.
Right.
And they still gave them, again, they got rid of all the vacations, all the breaks because of COVID, and there's no need, I guess, to have a break. Okay.
Teachers would disagree.
Right, exactly. So thankfully they still retained one of those days. So they only missed 1 virtual learning day and 2 in-person days. So even being gone for 8 days, thankfully they only missed a little bit, and they were able to get a lot of their work done ahead of time. I know other trip reports with parents with kids in school, a lot of the similar kind of framework there. So that's kind of how we structured everything, and it just happened to be end of February, first part of March, that last week.
So okay, let's talk Caribbean Beach. You stayed there, or Caribbean Beach? I go Caribbean Beach, I guess, because
I'll go that with that.
It's faster to say.
CDR.
I'll be down there this summer. Actually, I'm super excited. I stayed at Caribbean Beach in December just for a couple nights because we were down for Give Kids the World for that fundraiser. Didn't really get to spend a whole lot of time there. It was just a place to crash because I was in and out over the weekend. Highlights. What did you find worked for the family? Of course, you're at the hub of the Skyliner, which is really the major selling for the resort right now. But what were your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great reason for us to be there was for that. We had only done one other moderate before. That was Port Orleans Riverside, and again, not open, so that was not an option. And again, Caribbean Beach being really the most obvious choice, especially again with that hub of the Skyliner. We were in the Aruba section, which turned out to be very fortuitous because it's near the Riv, as you call it. So I called it that the whole time there.
Good.
I blame or thank you for that, but you guys call it at the Riv. But so yeah, we're right near the Riviera and that station there. So it was pretty exciting. We felt a little extra specials. Even the announcements for the Skyliner when we were there this is a stop for the Riviera and Aruba. So it's kind of like, and you lesser class citizens of Aruba, you can go. That's okay.
But you go right when you get off. Everybody going to the Riv, go left.
Yeah, exactly. But it was funny because it was like, I guess nobody else. Like, are they? were they seriously not going to let anybody else from Caribbean Beach on there? I don't think so, but
Yeah, anybody
yeah,
can.
it's just interesting. The announcement was very specific about that, but so it was nice actually. It was very convenient on, especially the day going to Epcot,
Yeah, so
because it's right there.
I'm so excited. We're staying at Yacht Club for a few nights and then Caribbean Beach. So Yacht Club, focus, Epcot in the pool, and then Caribbean Beach. We're gonna ride the Skyliner. This
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, we start out kind of with thinking easing into it because we start our first day at Animal Kingdom. So we got down there on a Wednesday. Uh, it was nonstop flight from we had to drive over to Minneapolis. We're only about an hour and a half due east of the Twin Cities, so here in northwestern Wisconsin. But so my wife was very generous and drove us over there so we could save on parking and things like that, and dropped us off and was able to do that pretty easily. And again, before we get into that too much, so I took the two youngest. Our oldest is in college, so my wife and our high schooler stayed behind because they were going to do their own trip over spring break, the end of March, to go do some college touring. So she's a junior in college. So
work out how you got away with two kids.
Yeah, yeah. So we were planning essentially, initially we were kind of planning around, all five of us going. We're like, oh, we're gonna do this without our oldest, and that's gonna seem kind of awkward. And then they started thinking, well, that's pretty good timing for doing some college tours, and maybe we should do a road trip. And they went to the Mid-Atlantic and drove around there end of March. So
were they able
yeah.
I know this is off topic, but were they able to do college tours? Because I know a lot of colleges kind of a challenge with the COVID.
Yeah, it was, every campus was different. It really depended on it. I mean, for example,
it's rough with kids right now trying to
figure
it out. I mean, it's such a different world.
Yeah, so actually, some of the smaller campuses were a little bit more, I guess, flexible in allowing, campus tours, a little bit more traditional fashion. But actually, some of the larger campuses were still closed or just not allowing non-students on campus. So it was kind of a mix.
I get it.
But
God, it's really hard to decide where you want to be for 4 years. Like, okay, here, just walk through, but don't stop. Don't go in any of the buildings. Just, oh, that's a pretty landscaped, union.
Yeah, exactly.
Sign up for this college. Yeah,
it was a little awkward that way, but they made a good go of it. So again, a month prior, we were doing, me and the two youngest. So it was going to be really first in a very different trip. So, I didn't have to carry anybody on my back or in a stroller or any of those things. I didn't have to dress anybody. I didn't have to any of that stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's like, hey, suck it up, Buttercup. We're going.
Exactly.
I've taken Mallory by myself a bunch of times now. And it's just like, we'll be there. We're staying couple extra days. Pam's coming home. We go down next week, and she's great about that because I'm like, well, hey, I'm going to Epcot. There's a bus. There'll be a bus every 20 minutes.
Wow.
I don't leave. I would never leave her behind. But that gets a little pep in her step. And she doesn't want to get out. It's like, let's go.
Yeah, we didn't quite get to that level, but that was one of the downsides to the whole COVID schooling is that and their schedules were kind of off. So we're of the Ricky schedule.
Oh my God.
We're the late risers, the night owls.
Epcot's for you right now, opening up at 11 o'clock.
It worked out well.
It throws me for such a loop. I can't take it. Like, I can't go to Epcot at 11 o'clock. I'm behind everybody. Nope, the park ain't even open yet. It totally plays with my mind.
Well, and there's your pool morning. I think you were just talking about that the other day.
Or Olivia's breakfast. That's what I do.
There you go. Yeah. So anyway, so the schedule kind of threw us off a little bit. I got a little bit nervous of the week or two beforehand. I kept encouraging my son, who was, that's the thing. It's hard to keep kids from, gaming together online late at night because that's like those are their friends. That's how they see their friends.
Exactly. I mean, that's going to the mall for us back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, again, they only see them maybe 2 days a week currently with the school schedule. So I got a little bit nervous, like, none of the parks are going to be open till 2 a.m. Yeah. And they're all going to open before noon. So dude, we're gonna have to switch up your schedule a little bit here and get you adjusted. He said, oh, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Like, okay, well, we'll see. It's anyway. Yeah, teenage boy. I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Well,
Is the
and
mantra.
they usually rally. I mean, at a place like Walt Disney World, they
They
step up.
and they did. Thankfully, they were able to do that. But yeah, it was a little bit iffy because just it was going to be a different schedule, trying to get going a little bit earlier in the morning. But yeah, so we had 4 days at the World, and so we had one park per day. That was one thing that did throw us off a little bit. We chose not to do the park hopper. We tried to just go all in for each of those parks each day, knowing again that rope drop was going to be a challenge in my family. It always is. And so only one day did that kind of throw us off. And that was one of the longer days when my daughter, we ignored the advice that you always talk about, which is take the break mid-afternoon and go back. We didn't do that on our second day, which was the Magic Kingdom day and the longer day. And it kind of bit us a little bit. But yeah, that was the only thing that I wish we would have done a little bit differently. Because I remember my daughter who even said, well, can't we come back here, tomorrow or a different day? Like, that's not how this works right now.
Right. And isn't that, I think that is like the biggest, issue for folks that have been multiple times. And that's, what I'm running into. For example, we didn't even take a vacation last summer because of,
right.
I mean, just the financial situation wasn't
exactly.
time to vacation when travel's down and you work in travel. So we kind of, tightened up the purses and stayed around the house and, did some fun things here in St. Louis. But the thing is, because of that, like I said, my daughters used to go and my wife, and they haven't, Mallory's been with me a couple times, but like Paige, my oldest, and my wife, they've never seen the Skyliner. They haven't seen Galaxy's Edge. I mean, they haven't been for quite a couple of 2.5 years now. So the thing is, like, when they go back, they haven't been, and so when we go down for cheer, when we went in 2019, we would just hop over to Epcot and get dinner, because it was no problem. We had annual passes and you didn't need a theme park reservation. Now, so it's, I've done it a couple times now, 3 times since this has all happened. But my wife, it's like, it's totally a whole different world. Like, we got to have a theme park reservation, and like, we can't just go hopping around, you got to wait till 2. You got to, it's just, you adapt. But I think it is, when you've been, like you said, it's just, you have a lot more to think about. Kids probably don't think about it. And I think a lot of us adults, until you experience it the first time, and it's not like horrible, but it's just, you have to plan a lot more. You have to think more. There's not as much spontaneity.
Yeah, a little bit. I think you're right. You have to think a little bit more in the moment. But I think in terms of planning ahead, not that we didn't do that, but I'm kind of with, again, we're in the Ricky camp. Do we have team colors or something for the Ricky camp, the Mike camp, the Pam camp, the Scotty G camp?
Yeah, Scotty G's always green and white, so that's
okay. But again, not sure about the park hopper thing. It was nice not to have to, not park hopper, excuse me, the Fast Pass Plus. It was nice not to have to think about that and plan ahead and at 1:35 we got to be at this spot and so we did do the kind of land by land concept, and it was a little bit kind of a throwback to, again, as a kid in the 80s, you just went land by land.
Yeah, like how we used to do Six Flags. I mean, when I was a kid, we just go, you go left, you just work all the way around till you came back out to the middle of the park. Yeah.
And here in this part of the world, we've got Valley Fair over in the Twin Cities. But so again, we flew down there nonstop, Southwest. It was super easy. Did presumably our last time on Magical Express. And the reason I want to mention that is that gave me 43 minutes to change all of our park reservations.
Nice.
On the app, because while we were in flight, all the park hours changed.
Wonderful.
So it was like, okay, I'm going for it. I'm ditching our Hollywood Studios day, and I'm hoping we can switch over to one. And that was the only thing that was a little bit nerve-wracking.
That's a gamble. I'm just saying
it was. But
you guys listening to Scott right now, I do not recommend this for this summer, but you did it.
Right.
And I'm just saying, do this at your own risk. Do not come after me.
Absolutely. No, that's for sure. I double checked that and triple checked that before I switched. I went, it's green. It's green on the calendar for that Sunday. So we're flying out on Wednesday. That was gonna be like our day 2, but we're like, okay, I'll push it to Sunday and check touring plans, have a subscription to that, and always recommend that because they're on it. That's the pulse right there. And in terms of times and things. Anyway, so what happened was Magic Kingdom hours just blew up. I mean, it was like it was going to be 7 o'clock at night. It went to 10.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we're switching. We gotta, like, the kids were like, absolutely.
That's the best time. It's the best time to be in the Magic Kingdom for me.
Well, absolutely. And again, us being the late risers too, that gave us a little bit of cushion, and again, gave us enough time to really make sure we could do the things we wanted to do. So we switched everything around. I think Epcot was the only one that didn't get switched, which was the Saturday. So Thursday was our Animal Kingdom day. And we thought, well, that's a shorter day, 8 to 5, kind of get into the swing of things. We're like, okay, well, this is going to work out because, that's, I think you guys were just talking about that the other day too, about the, kind of the why, why do you go to certain parks on certain days, or kind of bookending with your trip. And for us, we all agreed this made sense. Oh, this will be more of a kind of walking, get acclimated to the weather, get acclimated to walking around a lot. And that was true. We did that. We only had one disappointment with the rides, and that was my youngest. I was proud of her from start to finish. She was willing to try anything, absolutely anything. 11 years old and just turned 11 at the time, and she said she would try anything. I'm like, okay, this is totally different.
Cool.
She's with her big brother. Your dad's there. It's just kind of smaller group. But she said, "I'll try anything as long as it doesn't go upside down." Okay. So okay,
Animal Kingdom that I can recall.
No, there isn't. That's right. Okay. So we're okay. Well, we should have had the Flight of Passage as our very first thing we did. That kind of threw her off. I think that was.
I'm not a fan of that ride either. That ride gets me like motion sickness wise. But I mean, I just think I have an issue with that. Star Tours gets me too. I think it's a cool looking attraction. Now, was it like a scary thing, or was it just she didn't like the feel of it?
She doesn't like the. I knew this going in, and this didn't change. And she said she doesn't like the 3D. Kind of the 3D things kind of give her that kind of vertigo motion thing. But she's 11. She's like, she knows her body. She knows exactly what's going on. She's like, every time we walk through, they hand you the glasses. That's a little different now, by the way. They're handing you stuff because you don't want to touch everything. Right. So they hand you glasses. The second she grabs the glasses, she hands them to me. She's like, I'm not going to wear the glasses. Every ride that had any 3D thing that had glasses, she said, I'm not wearing the glasses. So thankfully we sat next to each other. We could hold our hands.
Yeah.
Because the thing, again, those who haven't gone, this is our first time on this. We had